For decades, Dolly Parton has been known as one of the kindest, most diplomatic figures in the music industry. She smiles through controversy, praises her peers generously, and avoids public feuds at all costs. That's exactly why fans were stunned when whispers began circulating that Dolly, behind her warm southern charm, may not admire everyone in the industry the way people assume. In fact, some insiders claim there are a handful of singers she has actively distanced herself from, and for very specific reasons. Dolly has always chosen her words carefully. She doesn't lash out. She doesn't name names casually. But over the years, subtle comments, pointed silences, and carefully phrased interviews have painted a very different picture. When asked about certain artists, Dolly's tone shifts. Compliments disappear. The warmth cools. And sometimes she changes the subject entirely. For longtime fans, those moments speak louder than any public rant ever could. These aren't petty grudges or social media spats. The tensions reportedly stem from deep disagreements over values, respect, originality, and how fame should be handled. In Dolly's world, kindness, humility, and authenticity matter more than chart positions. And when those values are crossed, she doesn't fight, she quietly draws a line. Tonight, we're breaking down the 6 singers that Dolly Parton has allegedly clashed with the most over the years. The misunderstandings, the behind-the-scenes tension, and the moments that made fans realize Dolly's legendary sweetness does, in fact, have limits. Before diving into any specific names, it's important to understand one crucial truth about Dolly Parton. She almost never uses the word hate. In fact, by her own standards, hate isn't part of her vocabulary at all. Dolly has spent more than 6 decades in the spotlight without becoming known for feuds, public meltdowns, or ugly rivalries. So when people claim there are singers she can't stand, what they usually mean is something far more subtle and far more revealing. Dolly Parton believes deeply in respect. Not just respect for fans, but respect for the craft of music itself. She has often said that fame is a gift, not an entitlement, and that how an artist carries themselves matters just as much as their talent. Over the years, she's made it clear, sometimes gently, sometimes pointedly, that she struggles with singers who forget where they came from, treat others poorly, or put ego ahead of artistry. In interviews, Dolly has mastered the art of polite distancing. When she admires someone, she praises them openly and warmly. But when she doesn't, her answers become carefully neutral. She might say, "They're very successful," without ever mentioning their talent. Or she compliments their work ethic while avoiding any praise of their character. For fans who know Dolly well, those omissions are intentional and telling. One of the biggest lines: Dolly has never been comfortable with his cruelty disguised as confidence. She's spoken many times about how fame can change people for the worse, especially singers who rise quickly and begin to believe they're untouchable. Without naming names, Dolly has criticized artists who tear others down publicly, use controversy as a marketing tool, or mock those they see as weaker. In her world, that behavior isn't bold. It's small. Another issue Dolly has quietly taken a stand on is authenticity. She has always written her own music, lived her truth unapologetically, and never pretended to be something she wasn't. Singers who rely heavily on manufactured personas, industry gimmicks, or shock value have often been met with Dolly's trademark smile and emotional distance. She doesn't attack them. She simply doesn't align with them. Dolly has also hinted at tension with singers who show disrespect toward the country music genre itself. She's fiercely proud of her roots and has never appreciated artists who treat country music as a stepping stone, only to later dismiss or belittle it once they achieve mainstream success. In several interviews, she's noted that you don't have to stay in one genre forever, but you should never insult the place that gave you your start. What makes these moments so fascinating is how quietly Dolly handles them. There are no angry headlines, no social media rants, no dramatic walkouts. Instead, there's silence, invitations that aren't accepted, collaborations that never happen, compliments that are never given. In Dolly's world, absence speaks louder than confrontation. It's also worth noting that Dolly doesn't hold grudges lightly. If she draws a boundary, it's usually after repeated disappointment, not a single incident. She's forgiven public insults, misunderstandings, and even personal slights when she felt the intention wasn't malicious. But when she senses arrogance, disrespect, or lack of kindness as a pattern, she steps back permanently. So when fans say Dolly Parton hates certain singers, the truth is far more nuanced. What she dislikes is behavior, ego without humility, fame without gratitude, and talent without compassion. And while she may never say those words outright, her actions over the years have quietly revealed where she stands. Among the names often whispered when discussing Dolly Parton's unspoken "do not align" list, one stands out: a superstar whose immense talent couldn't hide a pattern of behavior Dolly reportedly found troubling. While she never publicly attacked this artist, insiders suggest that Dolly's cool distance toward them was no accident. To understand why, we need to look at both the singer's rise and the moments that likely tested Dolly's patience. This singer skyrocketed to fame at a young age, achieving chart-topping hits before most of their peers even graduated high school. But along with their meteoric success came a growing ego that some colleagues described as intimidating. Sources close to Dolly have suggested that she was wary of artists who viewed fame as a tool for personal gain rather than a responsibility to the craft and to fans. She's always emphasized that music isn't just about selling records, it's about connecting emotionally, maintaining integrity, and treating others respectfully. When someone ignores those principles, Dolly reportedly distances herself, no matter how talented the performer is. Several anecdotes suggest this particular singer repeatedly displayed behavior Dolly disapproved of. Backstage at award shows, they were said to be dismissive of supporting musicians, ignoring the very people who helped create their sound. During interviews, they sometimes appeared to mock peers or trivialize others' contributions. While the public may have seen charisma and charm, Dolly noticed the underlying attitude. It wasn't about personal animosity. It was about misalignment with her core values of humility and respect. Fans may recall a few interviews where Dolly was asked about contemporary chart toppers, and she would respond with careful neutrality. When the conversation inevitably turned to this superstar, she'd smile, offer a generic compliment about their popularity, and immediately shift the topic. That subtlety, her polite avoidance, is classic Dolly. It signals disapproval without creating scandal, a method that's earned her lifelong respect even in tense situations. Interestingly, this wasn't a one-time conflict. Observers report that Dolly made a conscious effort not to collaborate with this singer, even when opportunities arose. Record executives allegedly tried to pitch duets or joint performances, but Dolly consistently declined, citing scheduling conflicts or creative differences. Behind the scenes, it's said that she quietly refused to endorse certain public statements or promotions tied to the singer. Again, she never publicly criticized them. She simply maintained her boundaries. Dolly's fans began to notice this pattern over time. While she embraced collaborations with many artists across genres, her avoidance of a few became a topic of speculation. Interviews and award shows only fueled curiosity, with audiences reading between the lines of her polite deflections. In her world, maintaining dignity and composure is paramount. Calling out someone publicly would undermine that principle. Instead, she lets actions speak for themselves. Ultimately, this superstar's inclusion on Dolly's subtle dislike list serves as a reminder that even someone as kind and diplomatic as Dolly has standards. Her disapproval is never based on petty jealousy, it's grounded in values. She admires talent, but she respects integrity above all. And when she senses that those two are at odds, she quietly steps back. Dolly Parton has always championed humility, believing that no matter how successful an artist becomes, they should remain grounded and respectful. Singer number 2 on her subtle "do not align" list reportedly embodies the exact opposite qualities: immense talent, paired with a larger-than-life ego that often overshadowed their artistry. While Dolly never publicly criticized this artist, insiders suggest that her polite distance was no accident. It was a statement of principle. This singer rose to fame during a period when image often mattered as much as voice. Glamour, publicity stunts, and media manipulation became tools for success, and this artist wielded them with precision. While the public admired their confidence, Dolly reportedly felt that arrogance and self-promotion should never replace genuine musical talent and integrity. According to sources familiar with Dolly's perspective, she respects those who work hard, remain humble, and honor the craft of music traits she felt were lacking in this superstar. Behind the scenes, this singer was known to dominate conversations, interrupt peers, and dismiss the contributions of backup musicians or songwriters. Dolly, who has always valued collaboration and respect for everyone involved in music making, likely found this behavior off-putting. While the public saw charm and ambition, Dolly observed the subtle ways in which ego overshadowed artistry, and she responded accordingly, not with confrontation, but with quiet disengagement. Several moments hint at Dolly's careful avoidance. At award shows or televised performances where this artist appeared, Dolly was polite but reserved, rarely offering compliments beyond generic praise. She would acknowledge the artist's success but never endorse their behavior, maintaining her distance without creating a scandal. Industry insiders describe this as a hallmark of Dolly's professionalism. She refuses to compromise her values, yet she also avoids unnecessary drama. Dolly's avoidance extended to collaborations as well. Despite pressure from producers and record labels, she reportedly declined opportunities to perform alongside this singer, even when it might have been commercially beneficial. It wasn't personal vendetta. It was principle. She has always believed that music is a reflection of character, and working with someone whose ego dominates the craft could dilute her own integrity. Fans began to notice patterns over time. While Dolly frequently collaborated with other artists across genres, country, pop, and beyond, this particular singer was conspicuously absent. Questions in interviews were met with neutral, polite deflections, sparking speculation about unspoken tension. For Dolly, such subtle cues were sufficient. She didn't need to broadcast disapproval to make a point. Ultimately, singer number 2's presence on Dolly's unspoken list reinforces a key lesson about her values. Success alone doesn't earn respect. Talent is meaningless without humility, professionalism, and a sense of responsibility to the craft and to colleagues. Dolly's subtle distance signals that she values substance over spectacle and integrity over ego. By the time we reach singer number A on Dolly Parton's subtle do not align list, a pattern emerges. Dolly values authenticity above all else. Talent alone is not enough. She respects artists who honor their roots, treat collaborators well, and carry themselves with humility. Singer number 3, according to insiders, fell short in several of these areas, making them someone Dolly quietly avoided in professional and social settings. This artist achieved fame by adopting trends, rather than developing an original sound, leaning heavily on image and marketing instead of songwriting or instrumental skill. To Dolly, who writes her own music, lives her truth, and maintains a consistent authenticity, this approach felt hollow. She reportedly admired performers who take risks creatively while staying true to themselves, but she struggled to align with those who seemed more interested in optics than artistry. There are a few notable examples. In interviews, Dolly would sometimes be asked about this singer or their work. She would respond politely, offering neutral compliments or focusing on their accomplishments, but she rarely went beyond surface-level praise. Industry insiders suggest this was intentional, a way to acknowledge public curiosity without endorsing behavior or values she didn't respect. Dolly's subtlety became her signature approach to managing relationships with artists whose paths diverged from her principles. Collaborations were almost non-existent. While Dolly has recorded duets with countless musicians across genres, she avoided opportunities with singer number 3, citing scheduling conflicts or creative differences. Behind the scenes, it's said that she quietly turned down performances that would require endorsing the singer or appearing too closely associated with their work. Once again, this wasn't personal vindictiveness, it was a reflection of her integrity. The same pattern can be seen with singers number 4, #5, and number 6. Each in their own way exhibited qualities Dolly found incompatible with her values: arrogance, lack of respect for collaborators, reliance on gimmicks over craft, or disregard for the roots of country music. Dolly's responses were consistent. She maintained her distance, offered only polite neutrality in public forums, and focused her energy on projects and partnerships that aligned with her standards. Dolly's approach demonstrates a remarkable blend of diplomacy and principle. She doesn't engage in public feuds, issue dramatic statements, or publicly call out artists. Instead, she sets boundaries quietly, letting her actions speak. Declining a collaboration, avoiding endorsements, or giving carefully measured answers in interviews communicates far more than a public rant ever could. Fans who pay attention to these subtleties see the message clearly. Dolly Parton will not compromise her integrity or the respect she holds for the music industry and its craft. This method has protected her reputation while also sending a message to those who may misunderstand her kindness. Dolly isn't naive. She recognizes talent, celebrates achievements, and maintains relationships with artists who respect her values, but she also refuses to reward behavior she cannot condone. In doing so, she sets a standard for professionalism and integrity that is as instructive as it is rare in the modern music industry. Ultimately, Dolly Parton's quiet boundaries reveal a deep commitment to her principles: authenticity, humility, and respect. The 6 singers she reportedly dislikes the most aren't hated in a conventional sense. Instead, they serve as reminders of the standards Dolly lives by. She has proven, time and again, that success can't replace character, and fame can't excuse a lack of respect. Her legacy is not just her music, it's her unwavering integrity, quietly maintained even in the face of challenging personalities.